Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be around the world. So glad that you're joining us here today for our Power Virtual Agent session. I'm really excited to show you some of this cool technology that you can use to service your clients and your gamers much faster than you already are today. My name is Amit Guru. I'm a business application specialist here at Microsoft. I'm aligned to a number of different gaming accounts and clients. And I'm also joined here by Josiah Hetty, who is a technical specialist for business applications as well. And the two of us will be leading you through today's presentation. Why are we here today? Well, we have a tremendous opportunity in front of us. By 2026, this is only a couple of years from now, there's going to be a revolution with conversational artificial intelligence, and conversational artificial intelligence will be embedded in almost everything that we do. So the reason why we're here today is to have this conversation around how we can quickly and easily embed conversational artificial intelligence in our work processes today. Now, traditionally, there have been some challenges with traditional bot building. Mostly because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources, it takes developers to help get traditional bots up and running on your platforms. But we're going to show you something today that's going to revolutionize the way that you can add bots to any platform, gaming platform, or any website in general. We have an unparalleled opportunity in front of us. Over 45% of users would much rather engage with a chatbot versus calling into your customer service department or sending an SMS or an email. Over 68% of executives are showing that there is a skill gap between developers and artificial intelligence experts. And we're going to show you something today that won't require those developers or those AI experts. And by 2030, over 1 billion tickets will be raised through chatbots, through conversational intelligence and artificial intelligence chatbots. So just a couple of really astonishing facts and statistics that we wanted to share with you before we actually dive into the deeper demonstration of this call. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Josiah to lead us through what chatbots are and how you can actually use them today very quickly and easily. Josiah, over to you.
Thanks, Amit. As mentioned, there are a lot of new trends in conversational AI to really highlight, and these are core areas that we'll be discussing today. So the first is really moving some of those systems over to the cloud to make sure that we have an always-on, hyper-scalable bot that allows us to drive those great customer service interactions, employee interactions, and a lot of different things as we shift into more of an as-a-platform mentality. Again, this really allows us to start bolstering use cases across all of our different lines of businesses from sales and marketing, finance, customer service, IT, etc. Things like being able to have an HR bot that can give us information on our benefits, or our customers being able to interact with a bot to solve issues such as, hey, I just got a flag in a game. How can I go ahead and get that removed from my account or take action on it to ensure that it doesn't result in a disciplinary action? These are all great use cases, and it allows us to start broadening out the way that we can surface bots and have meaningful interactions. And that's where Fusion team building comes in. Fusion building is the idea that we have our low code developers creating these bots from very minimal amounts of time needed to get it up and running, hooked up to the relevant data sources, alongside our professional developers into IT to ensure that we have compliance, security, and all the needed data integrations built into the solution. And this allows us to all seamlessly work together to drive towards this next evolution of bot building. And the way that that looks is really changing with time. In the past, it took hyper specialized data scientists and specific vendors to be able to help us achieve this type of building experience. From that experience, we then started seeing, okay, now our developers are able to create bots without necessarily needing to pull in data scientists. So it's becoming a bit easier. But with the newest iteration we're seeing, it's that fusion team I was talking about before, where we can bring in those business users to help solve those larger issues within their line of business and tag in or really plug in our professional developers where it makes the most sense. We see them almost be hyper enabled with low code building tools and GPT functionality. And we're seeing trends across the board that really help to solidify when we leverage the bot building technology and techniques correctly, we see a higher adoption rate overall. So if we just create a frequently asked questions bot and really leave it at just basic logic trees, it's great for about a month or two and then it falls off significantly. Versus if we create a much higher value to the bot, so it can now be able to pull information from our backend systems to bring in relevant information and to help deflect scenarios that we may have common fixes for. That's where we start seeing adoption keep fairly steady across the board when building these bots. And that's where we're going to be really focusing today is how can we, utilizing one bot, be able to deliver this type of well-rounded experience. And so to help contextualize, today we're discussing Power Virtual Agents, which is part of the Power Platform. Power Platform is Microsoft's low code platform that really spans all of our different offerings to ensure that we can build seamless, connected experiences in a low code capacity that still deliver a great experience for our customers, our players, and just everyone across the board. With that, we have different offerings such as Power Apps, which allow us to create apps, Power Automate to build integrations with no code necessary, Power BI to get an analytical view of everything we're doing, Power Virtual Agents, which is our bot offering, Power Pages allow us to create websites. But underneath of all of those different experiences is a layer of common platform options. We've got data connectors. We've got thousands of connectors that allow you to connect from systems such as uh, weather services, Salesforce, Microsoft Teams, and a lot of different offerings to make sure that we can build out of box with a lot of different connectors or build your own connector as needed. AI Builder allows us to start injecting AI experiences into each of the different interactions we have and keep a consistent data source with Microsoft Dataverse, allowing for a quick, easy, and scalable way to store and tap into the different data that we have. The other PowerFX allows us to have a bit more of an Excel formula like coding language that is easy for users to digest and manage environments, make sure that as we're deploying this, we can do it in a scalable, governed way. Now, with that, we want to key in on Power Virtual Agents and how it allows us to start tapping into and building those powerful conversations with our customers and our employees. Power Virtual Agents has a lot of things to really work well. First is the modern and generative bot builder. Now, a modern and generative bot builder is something that we've only been able to talk about for the last year because it allows us to take the new generative nature that we're all seeing more and more of into our bot building experience and being able to deliver that to our customers. Now we can describe what we're looking to do with an action and it will be created on our behalf, and we can start pointing at different knowledge articles or different websites that we have, and it can take those actions on our behalf. So we can start building coverage with one bot within one link to be able to cover our entire website with great generative answers to be presented to our customers without necessarily needing to bring in a bunch of code and without necessarily needing to do a lot of back end integration. And this just makes it so easy to be able to build these rich experiences while publishing it across all of our different experiences where it makes sense. So whether that's our website, a mobile app, or even Teams or Slack, we have a lot of different ways that you can consume and interact with that bot and do so in a way that is secure and scales with trust along the way. Now, we discussed the bot builder from a generative perspective at a high level, but we wanted to make sure to really call it out. First is being able to make those conversations even easier, being able to describe what we're looking to have happen in a certain dialogue and it generating it for us automatically, or being able to tap into the large knowledge base that we already have today and have the bot be able to parse through and present that to our end users is an incredible way to tap into the new generative technology. And with AI everywhere, we can make sure that we're bringing in all of those different techniques and really driving a higher deflection and being able to drive just a better experience overall. Throughout the interactions, we tap into whatever data source that you have and make sure that we can apply logic where it needs to be done in the bot itself. And from there, we have comprehensive analytics to make sure that as we're scaling this out, we know what topics are working, what areas we may need to clean up, and really just where we need to build out additional coverage as needed. And as we're doing so, we can make sure that we speak the language our customers are looking for on the channel they're looking for. So whether that's your site or on, let's say, a mobile app, and it could be English, Spanish, etc. Being able to make sure that we can reach our customers where they are is incredibly important. Next area we talked about was what's really in Power Virtual Agents. So we've got the bot building studio. So this is where we're going to go in and we're going to be configuring different areas such as, hey, if someone types in new releases for the new winter releases that we have for new gaming options, well, there are a few games I'm definitely keeping an eye on. So being able to have a generative bot be able to take a quick look and pull information from your website to really say, hey, we've got X, Y, and Z release coming, and quick heads up, this DLC is going to be available day one. Different options that we can really make sure we present great quality experiences for our customers right away. And workspaces allow us to then get an idea of what types of topics we're going to be discussing. AI configuration allows us to determine what knowledge sources we want to tap into with the generative AI elements. Channel publishing is where we're going to determine where our customers can interact with this. And analytics and insights give us all that good information fed back to us. Now, the next area is Automation Studio. And I always like to make sure to call out that we talk about connectors very quickly in this webinar, but connectors allow us to connect to all those different systems that you have. And although Microsoft, of course, has Microsoft connectors, we have a lot of non Microsoft connectors as well. So I mentioned a few earlier, but again, you can tap into a lot of different sources without needing to code up any functionality and just configure it as you need. And from there, the admin studio makes sure that as we're building these experiences, we do it responsibly. You'll see a trend that we're being very cautious and very careful with the way that we're doing generative AI and overall topic discussion. Now, the next area to really dive into is I've talked about generative AI a lot, and we all already have a few questions popping up or bubbling up based on that. So I wanted to give a quick kind of overview. When Microsoft's talking about OpenAI, we're talking about Azure OpenAI. Azure OpenAI allows us to bring all of the great new models that we're seeing within the OpenAI uh, ecosystem, bringing that into your Microsoft tenant to ensure that your data is isolated and respected to only your boundaries. This ensures that you're not training any public models. It ensures that you have governance and overall control of where that data is being leveraged and being interfaced with. And it allows you to, as you're producing these models, take your data from those different connectors and be able to reason with it in the Azure OpenAI tenant with confidence that it's not being trained back anywhere else, and you can action on that data where it makes the most sense. So with that, we have three different focuses on the generative nature that we're building out. The first is to answer. So these will be your generative answers where I can take those different knowledge sources, plug it into my bot, and it can use Azure OpenAI to quickly get information from it and take action on it. We can also make sure the to act. And to act is where we can start doing generative actions. So through generative actions, based on the conversation we're having with the customer, we can dynamically start chaining together different actions that in the past would have required a manual build out and allow it to not only request the information needed to take the action, but to really just drive a more natural conversation with all the building blocks that we have without us necessarily having to plug the building blocks in ahead of time. And the last is generative assistance. This is where we can describe the type of bot interaction we're looking for, and the generative assistant or the copilot will create that action for us. So instead of having to type out, hey, we've got a new DLC coming up, and I need to create out a logic branch that asks if they've played the game before and go down that path, instead, I can just quickly say, hey, we have a new release coming, and I want to make sure that we have a specific call out for it. And running until the end of winter, we have this particular sale going on as well. So just really helps you uh, centrally manage verbiage that maybe your site doesn't have today or that you want to make sure you tune up. So last thing I wanted to make sure that I talk about before showing a little bit of how this works is how are we actually applying security to this? I know anytime I've talked to a gaming company, uh, one of the first comments is always, we have very passionate players, so we want to make sure that we are keeping this as accessible as possible while also keeping ourselves pretty well secured from anyone doing anything too crazy on it. So first, to really help uh, get an idea of how this works, when we initially get that user prompt, it will do pre-filtering. So it's going to look to see if there's anything harmful going on, or really just detect if there are any queries that really shouldn't be something we answer. From there, we'll then go ahead and do a quick search and check the information with Bing. So if the information is pointed to our website, Bing will quickly call to our website, grab the relevant site and the knowledge information, and be able to return that back. From there, it will then generate that grounded result based on the search result from Bing, and it will filter it from there. So this is making sure that, again, we have the correct information in place. There's nothing going on that, looks a little too odd or that we didn't find anything relevant. And it'll also make sure that we are connecting the URLs where we're finding this information so that the players have some next steps. So if I say, hey, you need to be able to reset your password, well, sometimes, that's easier said than done. Being able to provide any knowledge articles for a next step call to actions, it's just always an easier way to go. So with that, I know I've covered a lot of material. Let's dive into a demo and see what this looks like in action. We're actually going to build this bot from scratch and be able to show what it can look like in action. All right. Here we come into the Power Virtual Agents Maker portal where we can start a brand new bot to be able to help build these different experiences. We're going to be building out a quick bot to showcase how we could point a Power Virtual Agent at a website and instantly be able to get great amounts of deflection and be able to help our players in a few seconds. We're going to be walking through a scenario where a new player is looking to get some information around a console. Today, we're going to be talking about the Xbox One versus the Xbox One S. So with that, whenever I go up and hit create a bot, so when we come in, we can see that it just asks for our name. So we'll call this Xbox Store Bot, and we need to give it a website. Today, I'm just going to do xbox.com. And as it's creating this bot, that's all we need to get started and go ahead and start solving issues right away. A quick note, while we're building this bot out, we can really start to think about what types of scenarios we're looking to solve and what channels we want this to be on and made available for our players. Within a few seconds, once the bot's ready, we're going to be able to see exactly how we can utilize this bot to go ahead and do some deflection right away. So right away, we can see all the topics that we have to start with, as well as we can start interacting and testing this bot. When I come in, I see that it's greeting me with the Xbox store bot that we named it, and we can start asking it questions right away. In the past, we would have had to went in, created these topics, and really fine tune them for what we're looking for. But now I can even put in a simple request of just Xbox. When I put Xbox in using new generative answers, it will go look at your website, pull information relevant to your game library, your consoles, and your current offerings to bring that to the customer's forefront and help deflect scenarios. So here we can see that it offers not only a wide range of different benefits of the console, but it even calls out things like the Xbox Game Pass that are natural kind of add ons to the console itself. Let's say I have a question about Xbox One X versus the Xbox Series X or Series S. With that, let's see what the difference between those consoles are using common comparison language I would use in a natural language or natural conversation. And here, using verbiage that's a bit more familiar to me, I get responses telling me exactly the difference between the two different consoles and why one would benefit me more than the other. As someone who would be newer to the ecosystem, we want to make sure that this information is easy to digest and in a language that is very easy to kind of call to and consume. So, using your own language, you can easily pull this information. And at the bottom, I mentioned before, you have all the different references that are made so that if I wanted to dive into a little bit more information on why it gave the recommendation it did, I can do so there. So this is fantastic to create initial conversations that can point to your knowledge articles or your websites or even your SharePoint documents to start driving a huge amount of deflection across your entire bot offering. So now that we've seen what it can do whenever we just plug in the website, let's go ahead and go under the scenario that we have a brand new offering coming down the pipeline. We have some new games being added to Game Pass as an example, and we want to make sure that we highlight those in a particular manner. We could have it call to the website where we may have this published, but we may have some particular verbiage we want to surface in the bot. So let's go ahead and populate a quick option there. Here you'll see an option for Create with Copilot. With Copilot, this is where that generative assistant comes in and just based on a description can create the actions and different scenarios I'm looking to achieve within this bot. So here we're going to say winter release, Game Pass. From here, we're going to describe the topic. So present a list of new game releases in the winter release for Xbox Game Pass. Now, in the past, I would have had to think about how I wanted to create this topic and go through and actually build out each of these different steps. All right, here we come in with the newly created topic and we can see that it's added a trigger and some phrases. So triggers allow us to watch for certain phrases or certain kind of starting points to then create different actions. So now that we know what the trigger does and the phrases that could activate it, let's go ahead and adjust some of the verbiage. So here we can see that it put a message in here, but we want to alter that a little bit. So with that, we have a few new games that are coming out and we want to just list them out. So here we can come in and we can actually say Xbox Game Pass has a few new releases this month as an example. And we can go ahead and put in exact information here. So we can give dates and it will honor the overall formatting that we've copied and pasted over. Now this is good so that we can cater the exact messaging we want to provide and we can adjust this as needed. Again, we could certainly use the website as needed, but this allows us to cater and craft that message so that as we have additional options, we can go ahead and say, okay, that's good. We now have presented the Game Pass information, but maybe we ask them if they would like to subscribe for more updates on this. So at the end, we want to add a question to ask if they want to opt in to an email update on Game Pass, as an example. And this allows us to start catering, kind of opting individual players in or out of these different scenarios so that it's easy for them to be able to track exactly what's coming to them and keep our jobs as easy as possible. So here we can see that would you like to receive or would you like to opt in to receive email? And we can just have a true false there. So we can start having Copilot help us create these in a faster manner while still keeping our core branding and different kind of verbiage that we're looking for and expediting the build process. So here we can hit save and we can see what this process looks like. Once it's saved, we come back over to our test area, hit refresh, and instead of typing an Xbox, we're going to do winter release. And when I hit winter release, we can see that the triggers hit, and here it presents all that information. Now, as you can see from this, in my testing, it is good that it provides the information, but oh boy, I may need a little bit more formatting in here. So that just lets you iterate over in a quick manner in that test area so that we can come in, add those spaces or the line breaks to make it a little bit more digestible and make sure that we adjust the overall font as needed. So like I said, this is just a great way to be able to make quick iterations on a bot, getting that information that's key to your customers out as quickly as possible and keep the accuracy in place. So here we see that as we make those adjustments, we can easily iterate over them and feel comfortable and confident in what we're producing. We can now then capture that email update and add them to a campaign as needed. So this is good. We've been able to see how we can pull in all of our external information to be able to leverage in the bot. But let's say that we have additional websites that we want to add. Well, no problem. If we click on AI capabilities, we can see that the one website we have set up today is xbox.com, and we can go ahead and add up to an additional five websites here. And as we add these, it just allows us to have additional coverage of the different knowledge articles that we have or different store options we have to present the most relevant information in the most timely manner. And you can start extending this out further with Azure OpenAI. So if you have an Azure OpenAI model, you can plug that into your bot or even upload documents that you have in particular that really could help solve some scenarios. Earlier, I mentioned that this could be used for internal scenarios. So we could upload a document around benefits as an example, and it could help us quickly dive into all the different benefits packages our employees have access to be able to bring that to the forefront. Here I can go ahead and hit save. And once saved, now we have access to both websites. So if a new individual is coming in and they just typed in Surface as an example because they're looking for a gaming laptop, the Surface that may not necessarily show up on the Xbox website, you can now see that information from the Microsoft website within a few seconds with that one site. So just helps with a lot of agility and adjusting where we need this information. So let's say that as we're building this bot, we're feeling comfortable and confident on what we have in place. We can make sure that we wrap it in any security as needed. So if we wanted to make sure that we only invite or only allow for those that have authenticated into our website or through a portal, we can make sure that we can narrow that down. And once we feel comfortable and confident on those two, we can also expand out into the different channels. Earlier, I mentioned that you have a lot of options when it comes to the different channels that are natively supported, but you can also expand this into a custom development effort as needed across different applications. So you have a lot of flexibility here. The one great thing is as we're building, we can launch this into a demo website. And that demo website allows us to actually send this over to colleagues so that they can give feedback along the way of our different options that we think are pretty helpful, but they can give us that feedback as needed. So here, once I am ready, I can go ahead and hit publish. And in a few seconds, we can see exactly what that demo website experience looks like to be able to dive into and collaborate with your colleagues as you're working through this site. And here you go. They have access within a few seconds to the same bot that you're building so they can give feedback and give any overall kind of recommendations on how to make this an even better experience. Now, I know we went pretty quickly through that, and we're happy to do deeper dive sessions, but it really helps to highlight how we can take all of the different knowledge sources that we have today, help bring that into a centralized area where our customers can come talk to one centralized bot, and have a great experience across all the different channels that we offer and support today, while also maintaining the ability to view, secure, and govern the overall bots framework to feel comfortable and confident in anything we deploy out into the market. Now, with that, I know I've been talking for a while, so I want to hand it over to Amit to do a little bit of recap on where we're seeing this in the wider market and how it's helping out other customers.
Josiah, thank you so much for that absolutely amazing demonstration. I just love that it's so easy and so quick to embed Power Virtual Agents and intelligent chatbots onto basically any sort of platform to help service your gamers or your customers a lot faster. We have a couple of customer stories to get through. Starting off with our own personal one at Microsoft, we've gone through a huge transformation internally with customer service, and more specifically with Xbox. Our Xbox team have gone through quite a tremendous customer service transformation. They went from 16 different siloed solutions down to one. They've embedded chat bots onto different Xbox platforms. And next week we'll be having Andy Beadle from our worldwide support organization for Xbox share the Xbox story. So shameless plug, would love to have you guys there. And he'll be talking all about the Xbox story around how they've transformed their customer service space. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. By embedding Power Virtual Agents onto their websites, they're able to handle over 40,000 conversations per year with a resolution rate of 97%. And that's just phenomenal with what they're doing with the Power Virtual Agents. Also, the city of Kobe in Japan, they've reduced their call volumes by over 90%. So now they're only getting about 4,000 calls per day from where they were in the tens of thousands before. And this is by embedding Power Virtual Agents onto their websites. Now, we've shared a couple of customer stories here, but we have a whole lot more. We'd be happy to meet with you one-off if there's any interest to learn more or see how this can actually be applicable for your organization. I'll put my contact information here in the chat, as well as Josiah's. Please feel free to reach out to me or to Josiah and to see how we can help you with your organization. And with that, thank you so much, and we hope to see you next week with Andy Beadle, who'll be talking about Xbox. Thank you.